Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to episode 7 of Fracking Nightmare. As you can see, I'm not in the studio in Plymouth this week. I'm in the newly created mobile studio at Barton Moss on the outskirts of Manchester. Well, it's been a massive week here at Barton Moss. 70-mile-an-hour winds pretty much destroyed the entire camp. The handful of people that were literally spending 36 hours holding on to the structures and trying to prevent the camp from literally disappearing into the ether. Unfortunately, my tent is now apparently about halfway to Greenland, along with much of the information that was in the information tent, although that may have actually been distributed around the local communities here, so maybe it was a bit of divine intervention in terms of spreading the word about eye-gas activities here at Barton Moss. Well, a lot has been going on this week, not least that George Osborne, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and of course son-in-law of Lord Howe, who infamously declared that fracking should be focused on the desolate northeast, and then realising that he didn't actually mean the northeast, he meant the northwest, so then went on to say that fracking should be concentrated in the desolate northwest. Well, I am now in the not so desolate northwest, and I'm sharing a verge here on Barton Moss Road with some 40 odd other protectors. The protection community here, of course, was livid to learn that last week George Osborne announced further tax incentives for the mother frackers. So tax allowances to be granted on early profits. Of course, there's an assumption there that there will be any profits. And if we take a closer look at what's going on in the US right now, that becomes ever more doubtful. Meanwhile, of course, Lord John Brown confirms what we all knew, that the gas prices of household consumers are unlikely to be impacted by any shale gas revolution. Well, elsewhere in the world, and particularly in Europe, the people of Pungesti in Romania have been brutally assaulted by riot police to end their protest against Chevron from fracking in their country. Like here at Barton Moss and prior to here at Borkham, the people that camp are people that have done the research. These are people who know what the effect of this industry is going to be, not because they claim any special insight, but simply they have done their research. They have looked at the impact of this industry in the US, in Canada, and in Australia, and the arrogance of the British government and of the industry to say that it's going to be different here in the UK is simply an outrage. The Barton Moss protection community here certainly have an uphill battle. Although yesterday they were joined by some 250 local people, supporters from the trade union movement, from the Green Party, and other individuals from the locale here who are extremely concerned about this industry being unleashed in the northwestern corner of Greater Manchester. That rally was really quite remarkable. There was no visible evidence of uniformed police whatsoever, although there were 3 individuals whose presence was somewhat suspicious. Let's just take a look at this footage. So I haven't seen you guys here before. Where are you from?
I'm from Oldham.
You're Oldham? Yeah? So what brought you down here today?
I'm coming to see the demonstration.
Yeah?
You?
Oh, well, I'm all over the web. You find all about me. I've been campaigning and trying to raise awareness on this for a long time. What's your name?
Paul.
Paul? And just here on a personal capacity, or?
Yeah.
Yeah? And you guys?
Mark, from Wigan.
From Wigan?
Mike, I live in the area.
Yeah. So you're just here on a purely personal interest?
Yeah.
So what do you think of the issue of fracking?
Not really.
Got no opinions, really.
No? Well, on the basis that there's a hell of a lot of people here who seem to feel quite strongly about it, does that stimulate your interest in any way?
Not really.
No? So why exactly are you here then?
Just thought I'd come down and have a look.
All the way from Wigan?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Alright. Well, thanks very much for... Sorry, what was your name again, pal? What was your name again?
What was your name again, mate?
Ian.
Hi Ian, pleased to meet you.
And you. Okay.
Nice to see you.
Thanks, take care.
Yeah.
And what's your number?
Thanks very much. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Okay.
So,
here's this week's quiz then. Who do those three individuals work for? Were they perhaps here as simply interested citizens as they claimed? Were they members of the Greater Manchester Police, out of uniform? Or were they members of other police forces taking a look at the level of support for the anti-fracking community here? Or something else? Answers on the shout box. And we'll take a look in the latter part of the programme, although unfortunately, because it's not quite live this week, I will have to report back next week, and we'll take a view on the allegiance of these three individuals who stuck out like the proverbial sore thumbs. Also yesterday I took the opportunity to interview Anne, you remember, the lady in the red headband who was right on the front line on the very first day of the Barton Moss campaign. And she was here yesterday to show her support, so we're going to take a look at what she has. So Anne and Judy, you made worldwide fame, about 10 days ago when you were right on the front line of the convoy, which was delayed for about 2 hours, so you've come down today to join the rally?
Yeah.
So how do you think things are going here in the fight against IGAS?
Well, I think they're going fantastically because everybody's been playing their part. You know, obviously the campers and local residents who've been giving out leaflets and coming to meetings and planning things, and people doing media work, and you know, everybody's been doing different things. And today we've all come together, and I think we all feel a lot stronger. We've seen that we have support from trade unionists and all kinds of other groups of people from far and wide, and we've also noted that we're in solidarity with people in Romania, people in New Brunswick, you know, all over the world people are fighting fracking. And this is the beginning of a big fight. And
but there's 2.78 million people who live in Greater Manchester, and we probably had 250, maybe even 300 here today.
Yes.
What would your message be to the other 2.7 million, or close on 7 million, who aren't here today?
That it will affect all of you before long. There's no question of that. It's all of us, I mean, not you. It's a devastation of the earth. It's terribly untested. The way in which it's been tested, it's a pure failure. There's no evidence that it's going to produce anything good for any of us in terms of energy or lower prices, anything like that. It's devastation for the earth, and it's, as always, money for the rich and down with the poor. Down with everyone who isn't poor at the moment. We're getting poorer all the time. It's an unequal society.
Well, now, call it a hunch, but I would say that you're probably a little bit older than me. But we're both in our sort of the latter part of our time on this mortal coil. Yeah. What would your message be to the youth of today who are going to inherit this legacy?
Well, I would say, please come and join us, because it's your future. It's your future in Greater Manchester, because this fracking, if it happens, is going to spoil the water supply, possibly, certainly the groundwater, the air, and the whole atmosphere of this part of Manchester and Salford. What we need is jobs in renewable energy and in insulation for houses and in public transport, and that's precisely what Cameron and the Tory government, it is really, is trying to put a stop to now. They're reducing exactly the kind of programmes which they should be doing, solid wall insulation and other ways of insulating houses, particularly for lower income families, so that will reduce their energy bills. But for short-sighted political reasons, he's actually reducing that programme, and he's saying that's the way to lower energy bills.
Okay.
The way to lower energy bills is to insulate everybody's houses and to renationalise the energy companies so that there's no profiteering being made of our need to heat our houses.
Okay, thank you very much.
Endorse completely, yes.
Okay, well, ladies, thank you very much. I mean, on the basis that I've seen you about 4 or 5 times now, I'm sure we'll see more of each other in the coming months.
Yes, we most certainly will.
Thank you very much
we'll
indeed.
all be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You, bye now.
What's your name?
Ian.
82 today.
And you're 82. Well, you're looking well on it, and
It's every old person boasts of being old. It's ridiculous, but it's been very lucky.
yeah, but
to have been in the
how
right place
how
at the
old do you
right
actually feel? Because I'm 57 and I feel about 17.
time. Yes, I'm around 30ish, I think.
Oh really? I say, well, you know, they say that men take a lot longer to mature than women, so there you go.
Oh, I'm not matured yet.
Hey, have a great day. Thanks, Anne. Bye now. Bye. I also took the opportunity to speak with Tina Louise, who is one of the prime movers in the anti-fracking community on the Fylde Peninsula, which of course suffered from the seismic events as a direct result of Quadrilla's activity in 2011. Now, Tina Louise is actually one of a group of Fylde residents who is going to be at the House of Lords tomorrow, that's Tuesday, giving evidence based on her research over the last few years. It'll be very interesting, of course, to see whether Lord John Brown, Lord Lawson, or other such mother frackers are part of that committee. So anyway, let's have a listen to what Tina Louise had to say. Okay, I'm joined now by Tina Louise, who's come over to Barton Moss today to show solidarity from the Blackpool groups. So Tina, is this your first visit to Barton Moss?
It is. Unfortunately, I've not been able to get here. It's crazy, isn't it? I'm up north, and I spent most of the summer in Bolcombe, and that was easy enough to get to, but then life kind of, you know, it does what it does, and I haven't had the chance to get across to Barton Moss, and here it is on my doorstep. So yeah, I'm really glad. I've been desperate to get across.
But that's often the case, isn't it? If
Yeah.
something's farther away from home, you sort of make the effort. When it's right next door, you think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, well, and also just so sometimes life just gets in the way, you know. People always say, oh, why aren't there more people at protest camps? Well, I think the reason is real life is so damn demanding. Just trying to keep, you know, a meal on the table and your job and, you know, maintain your family life and stuff, as well as bringing up stuff that needs to be raised at protest camp. You know, it's really hard for people. So, yeah, I'm beginning to, this particular last few weeks, I've experienced what a lot of those people who couldn't get to camps have gone through, so.
No, sure. I mean, we know that there's a lot of people who would be here if they could, but
that's why I never get angry with the people who, you know, some people say, oh, get off Facebook and come down. Yeah, okay, if you can. If you can't get down, carry on lobbying your MP and your councillor and writing to your newspaper and sharing information and enlightening people.
Exactly.
Because our biggest problem in this industry, in fighting this industry, isn't what they're going to do, it's what they say they're going to do. So we need to undo the ignorance. And, you know, people have been ill-informed and lied to. So undoing that is the biggest challenge, is sharing that information. And every single human who participates in stopping shale gas in any way they can is actually contributing to that. So I'm always really grateful for everyone.
I think you've got an opportunity in the next few days to really get your message across at the heart of British government, because I believe you're giving evidence in the House of Lords.
Yeah, on Tuesday we're doing the House of Lords has been holding an inquiry, and so far they've heard a lot of evidence from people who are very pro shale gas. Nick really, Viscount somebody who was awful, and lots of people, and I've watched a lot of it, and I at first we were a little uncomfortable about how we would handle this, and it's a very unusual situation. You know, becoming an activist puts you in some strange and demanding situations, and going to the House of Lords is, I suppose it could be a bit of a burden really in its way, because you want to get it right. You only get one chance. But then it's the same as a public meeting. You get one chance to get that information right. And you put out the right, truthful information, and you get it right, and everyone in that room understands the truth of the story, then you win. And that's all you seek to do, is inform with the truth. So that's how we're viewing the House of Lords. So Residents' Action on Fylde Fracking was asked to send 2 people down to answer 13 questions. So they've sent us a copy of the 13 questions. All of them we're comfortable with. We have an answer to all of them, so we're happy with that. Alongside us on the day, will be a waste disposal company called Remsol, a guy called Lee Petts, and someone representing the Institute of Directors. So both of those are pro-shale and will be representing the against shale. And I'm hoping, all we're hoping for is that they're open-minded in the laws, that they haven't already reached a preformed opinion. That, you know, but then again, you've got Lord Howell, Lord, what's his horrible name? Lawson, and then Lord Brown, of course, and these particular lords are already invested in the industry. So I don't know what the lords will be like.
But the other issue, or the other opportunity that this presents, is of course to encourage the panel to actually do their own research.
Absolutely.
Because as we know, the industry and the British government relies on people taking what they say at face value.
Well, we've discovered since we've been doing public meetings and just being involved in this the last 2 years, as you have, that there's really only two types of people who are for shale gas. The only two types are those with an investment in it who will seek to profit from it, and those who haven't been told the truth. So we can only hit those who haven't been told the truth. And as far as I'm concerned, the lords is just people. They were all born babies like we were. And so it's just another room full of people who have either invested their money, in which case there's nothing I can say is going to change them, unless we can appeal to the fact that they have grandchildren too, or they've been ill-informed, in which case we seek to inform. Well,
as I might have mentioned once or twice on the programme tonight, Andrew Austin sits on 10.67 million stocks. And of course, every time the stock price goes down by £1, then he loses £10.67 million. But you know, these long-term incentive plans where senior directors are awarded stock options are effectively behavioural change payments.
Yes. Oh my God, I never thought of it like that.
Well,
you're so right.
BP actually states that on its account. It actually says behavioural change payments, not for stock options, but for payments where they know they're trying to get people to do something that they probably know they shouldn't be doing. So this is exactly what this is all about.
You see, but we're rich in our anti-fracking community. The reason we're rich is we're diverse. And so where you approach it your way, someone else approaches it another way. We all hit different sectors. We all have our own approaches. And, you know, like one of the strongest approaches there is, and I think one of the most effective, is what happened in Bolcombe and is what's happening here at Barton Moss. And it's the things that have to be nurtured and really enhanced with as many people as possible. Is that when you slow that truck down, you slow down their money. And we've tried appealing to their humanity, their sense, their logic, their intelligence. None of that works. The only thing that works is to say, we're going to damage your bottom line. And you know, every time there's an action, and I read the investor press, it says, UK opposition to shale affecting investor confidence. Yes! That's exactly what we want. We want them to think, oh, well, if I invest in that, I'm not going to get 8 trucks through today. I'm only going to get 3, and I'm going to pay for all those people. And then today also, the strong support of the unions was fantastic. Because if the unions can get their workers to refuse to work for this industry, on the grounds that it's totally immoral to work for this industry, then that's truck drivers shouldn't drive trucks. You know, people shouldn't deliver goods and food and other products to these sites. So if we can get this affected on every level, and then people like us going and talking to the lords, you know, maybe one person in that room will think, you know what, that made sense. And if that works, then great. It always generates out.
And also talking, of course, to the people literally in the communities, because one of the biggest issues here is that iGas claim they've consulted with the community, and yet I attended a local community meeting last week with some 70-odd people, and their anger was that they weren't aware of any of these consultation meetings.
And also I think they ought to have a new definition for the word consultation. What do you mean consultation? You've got to send us some PR guys, no engineers, and you've got to feed us a load of waffle that came out of your PR and marketing brochure that I could have read myself, and you're going to tell me it's contact lens solution and almonds or something that we're getting. And really, how stupid do they think the British public is? And I think you need to be, and I think we are the one country that can stop this, because it hasn't started. You know, when I remember when Jessica Ernst came over from Canada and Marianne Lloyd-Smith of Australia, and they gave us their messages of what's happening, what had already happened in their communities. And to me it was a bit like that scene in the Christmas Carol where it's a ghost of Christmas future. They came and said, this is what it looks like. And we haven't got that yet. We're lucky. They haven't done it yet. But, you know, if we don't heed this advice and look at the examples already being set and presented before us, how stupid are we? You know, and also, no matter what, Britain does have a place in the world. You know, it's not like as powerful, and I don't believe power is that essential, but, you know, people look to Britain for, you know, for its education, for its knowledge. So if we can get it as a no, our country, I think we help lots of other nations too, and I think that's so important.
So on Thursday, there is a public meeting which iGas are convening. It's in a room that's actually not much bigger than this Canvas studio here.
Can I point out, Canvas Studio, how cool are you as an activist? You have a studio on site. Brilliant.
Well, it saves me a 600-mile round trip to Plymouth to do the show. Yeah. But I will be back in Plymouth next Monday. But iGas have a public meeting, and literally it will be in a room not much bigger than this. What would your message be to the local population here surrounding Barton Moss regarding that public meeting?
Surround that room and be there en masse, because without your voice, this happens. They take your absence as compliance, you know, and instead of just looking at it and going, you know what, this subject is too vast, it's too big, I don't understand it. Well, the very fact that you don't understand it and they're going to go ahead with it, how dare that be the case? You live in a democracy. So if you live in a democracy, be given the facts and have the ability to choose. You know, they're counting on our ignorance. And I understand a lot of people haven't got the time, the energy, or even like maybe the internet skills to research this stuff. And that's okay, not everyone can. But sometimes I think if you're in that state and you haven't got time, look at it this way. There's two teams. There's a whole bunch of people willing to give up the comfort, security and easiness of home to camp on a roadside because it's that important and they're that concerned. Or there's a bunch of people in political power and corporate offices, all heavily invested, who are telling you it's good. Who are you going to believe? What's the motivation behind that? And then you look and you say, okay, who's invested in this? Halliburton. Well, we know what Halliburton's like as a company. Yes. And then you've got George Osborne's father-in-law, Lord Howell, is invested in this. Baroness Hogg, who's been done for underhanded little claims and bad things she's done in her past, she's invested in it. Lord Brown, well, there's a whole world of information on him out there. So if you're saying that's their team and you haven't got time to research, just ask who would you trust more? Because I'm not trusting my granddaughter's future to them. And I won't also lay down without a fight. Someone said the other day, but it's going to go ahead anyway. To me, that's like me holding a gun to your head and saying, don't bother ducking, I'm going to shoot. I'm still going to duck. I'm still going to duck. And I'm not going to stop ducking and making sure this stops until, I don't know, until it stops, really. There is no end, is there?
Well, it's true. I mean, at the moment, the UK anti-fracking community is the most successful anti-fracking community on the planet.
I think we're blessed in a lot of ways. And the reason that we are being more successful than most is, unlike places like Romania, where they are those poor people, but they already had a very difficult system where they were very much squashed down. Their access to democracy was far less than ours. We also have the gift of hindsight being given to us by all these other countries and seeing what's coming. And also, we're quite advanced technologically, so we have things like you. We have independent media. And also, you're just a human being. With no agenda. You don't have an agenda. That's the difference.
Well, I have an agenda, which is to...
Yeah, but that's your personal agenda. This is an agenda you came up with because it mattered.
Absolutely.
The BBC has an agenda that when that reporter is asking me questions, they don't even know what their agenda is. So to me, that's dishonest. You know, someone said to me the other day, oh, you know, I saw you on the BBC and I was talking to North West Tonight. And it actually went really well because the lady and I got on very well. She gave me lots of room to talk. I hadn't seen that whole programme. Obviously, it was live. So when I went back and watched the whole programme, I was just so disappointed because the rest of it was awful. And someone said, well, you shouldn't talk to them. I thought, yeah, but they're just humans who were born babies. They are either invested or ill-informed. I don't care what job they have or what they do for a living. If you are one person who does not know the truth about this industry, I will talk to you, and I don't care what you do for a living. Because to me, it's an opportunity to inform you. Because it makes no sense to me that this is even on the table as an option. It is so obviously wrong, and we are so obviously correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tina Louise, thank you so much for joining me.
So good.
%60 of the English countryside is under threat from fracking, a process which has transformed the landscape in many parts of the United States and Australia, and contaminated the drinking water and air with highly toxic chemicals and gases.
1 in 3 hydraulic fracturing was using a carcinogen. So it really is a chemical cocktail that goes into the earth, of which up to 40% remains there.
The grandchildren were in the bath and they started screaming and everything that was in the water was burnt.
The MDs have been instructed not to report any negative health effects that they believe to be associated with living over a gas field.
There's nothing inherent about the shale gas process that is going to lead to problems.
Some of this material was actually taken to a large sewage treatment works, which had no capacity to handle radioactive materials of this kind.
800,000 gallons was dumped into the Manchester Ship Canal.
50 seismic events were recorded during just 6 fracking treatments.
What is the minimum depth that the fracking will fracture?
We can't tell you until we drill the exploration.
Have you no idea whatsoever? Because it doesn't look like you've done your research.
Shale gas is part of the future and we will make it happen.
We are just numbers and we are sat on this rich vein of gas, and they will do and say anything to get that gas out of the ground.
So it's a breezy Sunday morning here, and as we come up to the iGas site entrance, there's some 250, 300 people who have converged from all over the northwest to come show their solidarity, not only for what's going on here, but also what's unfolding right now in Punjesti in Romania.
My child to in 40 years' time, when this dirty fuel has run out, to live in a sick and poisoned earth. I know this in my heart, I know this in my bones, and I know this in my brain, and so do you. This is the time when the things that we have hidden from us by the sneaky little people in universities who say that they do safe studies. This is the time when our mind is commanded by our heart. This is an awakening time for those of us that know that we are being lied to. By all means, get out there, do your research, but feel it. Look around you today. When was the last time you felt like this, people? I've been here and every weekend this place has grown. Now, one thing I just want to ask for you is we heard about 12 people in a room who were being corralled into a little fait accompli by these nasty little companies. Let me warn you, I've been to one of those meetings with those nasty little companies called iGas over there at Boysnow. Now they're having another little opportunity for the community to be misinformed. Unlike last time when I attended with Mr. Crane, they had a terrible time because their lies do not stick. Their lies are not real. We are real. The truth is real. Let us go down there in force. We must, as Dan says, mobilise our bodies. Don't stay at home on Facebook hitting like. Get off your ass and show my child a future. Get to Boysnow and ask them the questions. Thank you very much for coming out today. And whatever it is you feel you can do, please do it. Bring your apples, bring your soup, and bring your ass. Thank you.
Right, well I'm here with Helen Chuntos, and Helen, of course, you've seen on 2 previous occasions on Fracking Nightmare, but this is the first time I've actually managed to get Helen to sit down with me, and well, we're really christening the studio here at Barton Moss.
That's right, everything's getting christened here at Barton Moss.
Well, it sure is. It's been one hell of a week. With the storms we had on Thursday pretty much wiped out the camp, and it's been remarkable how quickly it's effectively been rebuilt.
Yeah, it's amazing how the village is almost like a village feel has started to be created down here. There's tea rooms, there's compost toilets are back live again, yes they are, and many more people are arriving every day.
Yeah, in fact we had about, I think about half a dozen people arrive after dusk last night.
really.
yeah, and more during the day. So we're quickly running out of space for sure. So more will be cleared. We've just come back from the march up to the iGas gate. Now my estimate is there was something in excess of 250 people here, maybe even pushing 300. Are you happy with the turnout today?
I think what's happening here is we're just seeing more and more people that are realising what's happening, and as everybody realises what's happening, people are not happy about it and they're coming down here to show us the support.
Now, I would have to make the observation that of the people that were here, I probably knew about 50, 60 of them, and most of those were not from this area, which means that certainly a good 3/4 plus were from the Greater Manchester area.
That's right, Manchester's coming out.
It is. Now, what would your message be, Helen, to the people of Greater Manchester in the coming weeks?
It's really good to have you here. It's really good that you've actually heard what's happening. It's really good that you've come down. And it's really good you've come down with your families and your children. And this is our land. And it's time for us to defend it. This is what is happening in everybody's areas. I think it's time that we came out and showed our solidarity for our land, our homes and our families.
Now, you live literally about 5 miles away from here, I think. And of course this is so pretty much right on your doorstep, and if this industry kicks off, as iGas believe it will, then of course the whole area is literally going to be covered in pads. What do you think we need to do? What can we do to get people to realise that this is a lot more than just one pad here on Barton Moss?
Well, what's unusual about this, Ian, is that the information is out there. The 14th round of PEDLs are going in the new year, and all you need to do is look at what's happening to poor Wayne Rooney over in Cheshire. I think what will happen is that as more people realise that there's hundreds of applications that are in, they realise that there's one right near them, and that this isn't something that's going to go away. It's a beast that's going to grow. This is cancer. This is cancer on our earth. And the problem will not be solved by ignoring it, and people will come when they realise that it will not go away.
Now, you're absolutely right. Of course, Dart Energy have submitted their planning application. In fact, I think objections can be submitted right up until January the 14th. So that gives another 6 weeks to respond, particularly to the Environment Agency. Now, I'm speaking in Liverpool on Wednesday night, so maybe Wayne Rooney will come along.
That would be wonderful. Mr. Rooney and any of your colleagues who live out there, please come and show us your support. You're very welcome. We're all in this together.
Well, the reality is, of course, that the value of their wonderful properties in the Wirral and in the footballer belt that runs right across from Liverpool to Manchester will be absolutely wiped.
Well, for me, I think this is going to be a great leveller for all areas, because I think all of us are going to suffer with our property prices. But for me, property prices is only one of the issues. The real concern is that what this will do to our water supply, to our air and to our health as a result of it. I think that our properties will be a small proportion of our wealth when we realise what effect this industry will have on our health.
But the great tragedy of this is that, of course, I mean, people should actually be shocked at the impact that this industry will have on our water, and of course if they actually made a little bit of effort and looked at the evidence that's freely available right now to see the impact that it's had in the US and Canada and Australia, then people would be shocked to think that we might actually be on the brink of unleashing this abomination in the UK. But the great tragedy is that it's the drop in the property prices that seems to get people's attention.
Yes, it is, but anything, this will bring everybody together, because there is the need to understand that there are many facets to the problems caused by this industry. You know, you're quite right, Ian, it will affect property prices, but it will affect much more than that, and any angle that you look at this fracking abomination from, you will not find a good result.
Indeed. Helen, it's wonderful to have you on the show, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of you over the next couple of months while this campaign to raise awareness continues at Barton Moss. So thanks for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be at Barton Moss. This is our land.
It is indeed. Thank you. Okay, that was Helen Chuntos, and
health and well-being of yourself and your family, the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine is the magazine you've been waiting for. Having taken Australia and New Zealand by storm, the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine is now available in the UK and Europe. Visit www.nzjournal.com nznaturalmed.co.uk or call 01626 337 531 to order your copy now.
So it's a breezy Sunday morning here, and as we...
Morning, Ian.
It's all right, mate. That was perfect timing. I've just got off the promo video for tonight.
Did you get the dash?
No?
Yeah.
What happened?
Just pushed him out of the way.
Yeah?
Trying to grab me.
13529. 13529. Could you stop assaulting this woman, please? 13529. Forward. How would you feel if your mother was being pushed this way whilst exercising her right, her legal right to protest, and she's being assaulted by a thug?
529. You do know that you're acting in an unlawful fashion anyway. This lady takes precedent over your lot here.
They're doing this so as they're going to...
Don't get aggressive with me. Put your hands down.
If we were, you guys would have come and grabbed us. I'm BCC, because nothing had caught us. We know that you're trying to get us while we're all our guards down, because that's style. Oh, Sarge is back. You see what he's doing? Yeah, he's pushing. Don't tell me what I'm being arrested for. What am I being arrested for?
Obstruction of the highway. You keep pushing it back.
I haven't been pushing anything back. I've not been pushing anything back. Why?
Let go of your camera.
What are you arresting me for?
You're under arrest.
What is obstruction of the highway? Obstruction of the highway.
That way, please. Someone's been arrested. That way.
Yeah.
Start moving.
I'm pressed, mate. I'm pressed.
Start moving. Start moving that way. Start moving that way, please.
Sorry, sir. You're not a legal observer today.
I'm pushed anyway.
I'm pressed, for God's sake.
Keep moving, please.
Ron Swan, that's... What was he arrested for?
I don't know. I'll tell you when I know, mate. Can you go and join the other side of the protest for us? As soon as I know, I'll let you know, mate.
Okay.
Like earlier on when they tried to get with a big massive bus, and he was terrified. Why don't you just, you know where he's safe, you know that he's camped.
Constantly moving at a pace that is in line with health and safety requirements.
Don't you push her. Don't you start pushing women around anymore.
Max, I don't trust him, and I've got to film him.
May, are we entitled to a copy of that footage?
Absolutely. Absolutely freedom of information. Yeah, we'll get the footage, no worries. You're looking for it. Don't forget that. I took up the day, isn't it?
Ian, did you get that press?
We'll get the copy of the footage.
Fighting people, yeah. Nice motto.
breaks off here.
There might be others accidentally.
Please, at the place we're going at. When the guy keeps pushing back, then she's to be arrested. We're going to get warned again, love. Keep walking, please. The pace is radically changed. Keep walking. Yeah. Anna letting the grey in. She carries on, then she's coming out. Into this officer.
But if you dictate and speed up the pace, then inevitably
These officers' mothers must be so proud of them. I bet if they knew exactly what these officers were doing, I bet their children would be really proud as well. Yeah. Hey, guess what I've done today? I've been bullying people around who are trying to protect your future. Yes, I'm such a great hero, aren't I? Brilliant. And you want to be aware
wrestling legally.
Just watch the lorries, guys, yeah, especially when it's all following getting hurt by the lorries. Come on, guys. Time has come for another rest. It's going to be, where's the magic finger?
Which animation? Dressing by these officers.
Oh, here they come again. Fellas, watch the line, please. Keep the line straight.
Dress, you see, you're speeding your pace up too much. Saying she's leaning against you, but in fact you're actually creating an arrowhead instead of a flat line.
Sarge's back.
Just keep the line, left and right. I spoke already, when they got officer carries on.
1, 2, 3, please stop pushing.
More pricing behind.
How many times do my solicitors actually?
Which is our water that will be poisoned by the fracking chemicals. Why are we allowing this to happen? You guys are complicit in allowing this to happen. You have children, grandchildren, this is our planet.
And what do you think?
They can, yes.
They're eager.
Eager they are, eager.
There's no one who
There's no sufficient footage because there's nothing to gather. Nobody is willfully obstructing the public highway. If you're sending your officers through citizens of this country, the subjects of this realm, then you will inevitably be leaned upon.
I tried to hand him Santa's number. This saved my life.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm sure he knows it all.
The police,
yeah, have you sent it to him on his phone? I don't know what place.
No, they'll take his phone off him. We won't be allowed to use it.
By the way, the first question is, have you got sufficient footage? And the second statement is, she is leaning back.
Do we really think that we were there to protect the future?
Sorry, still got a lace undone, so this is not good.
I'll get it out in a second. For fuck's sake.
Oh, you'll be out so within threatening her.
I know, I appreciate that.
Can you put my property in my pocket? You're hurting me! Officer! Inspector! What are you doing?
He's not
I'm not resisting arrest. You stop the pressure point on my right hand, thank you.
He's not resisting arrest, be gentle with him.
Put some handcuffs on you, mate.
I was very chilled until I was assaulted by several officers. Somebody, can you have a look at that?
No, fake it. Do you want to hold on to your glasses?
Put them on my person. I'm giving you permission to put them in my pocket.
There you go. No problem.
Lazard solicitors.
Sorry?
Lazard solicitors.
Lazard. Them through.
Yeah, I haven't pulled any through yet, so you go.
See you go. That was the thing. Are you alright? Shanice.
I'm okay.
Join them at the front there. Do you want to go and join them? No. You want to go and join them? I thought you said you were press earlier on.
Yeah.
Oh, you're press, right. Just go and join them at the front then. Thank you.
I can do here.
Hey?
I can do here. It's okay. I'm not going to get in your way. Don't worry.
Right. Okay.
I
Thank you.
pretty much guarantee that.
Inspector, you know where you're going with these? Same as last time.
Over this side.
Right on there. One 286 right wheel there, yeah?
Start to move them round.
Give me one to your left, please.
Move to your left, please.
Yeah, going.
Just go over there for us. Go through there, thank you. Move across, thank you very much. Thank you.
right by the eye-gas entrance. What we've just seen coming up the road today is the most aggressive stance yet of the Greater Manchester Police. 3 arrests in my opinion, totally outside the guidelines of the Crown Prosecution Service guidelines for arrests at peaceful protests. So I'm pretty sure that the cases aren't going to stand up to any kind of judicial examination. The reality here is that there was probably only about 20 protectors today. Protectors and about 30 odd police, but of course one tactical aid unit between each of the vehicles in the convoy. Evidence gatherers out in force. It appeared to me that there was a determination to take out the people in the front line, and tragically the reality is that unless the people of the Greater Manchester area come down and help the protectors or join the protectors here, the reality is that this area is likely to get fracked.
Articles 10 and 11, you just broke the law. You are all going to be despised by your own family when they find out.
So, you okay?
Yeah, no, that's what they use in private quarters. They've got them themselves.
So, under arrest at present for willful obstruction.
For?
Willful obstruction, apparently.
Yeah?
I didn't willfully obstruct anywhere, I was constantly moving.
Well, the video footage that we have, I think, will demonstrate that you didn't breach the Crown Prosecution Service's own guidelines in terms of arrests at peaceful protests.
I was trying to inform the inspector all through the line and the officers that I had direct contact with. But...
So, based on a couple of observations there, I mean, would you say that there was much more aggression today than we've seen in the past?
Excuse me, a lot more testosterone.
Yeah,
can I ask you to just move away because you're obstructing us?
I'm not obstructing you at all.
Of our duty.
I'm not.
Can I ask yourselves to move away,
on what
please,
basis am I obstructing you?
Thank you very much.
On what basis am I obstructing you?
Yet to be spoken to about the matter on which he will seek legal advice if he requires to do so.
I'm sure he'll get some.
Given his rights and entitlements, as which point he can deal with that. At the moment, he's under arrest. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and what was he under arrest for?
I don't know the exact offence that he's been under arrest. I'm not the arresting officer.
Okay. And your purpose down here today is?
Cause chaos, threaten people, alarm them, distress them, break the law.